Delegate Hugo's here, so he has two bills. Let's do those.
Okay.
First of all, HB 1886. Delegate Hugo.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the committee's time today. 1886, I think we've discussed in the past, is where we want to take the opportunity to provide Virginia students with the opportunity to attend colleges in state. It says that these colleges should provide 75% in-state students enrolled. What we've tried to do, it excludes the historically black colleges and BMI. What we've showed over the years, and what the colleges have told us, is that, and we've seen that time after time, Kipling report and others, William & Mary and UVA, two of the best colleges in America for out-of-state students. The fact of the matter is, we hear this time after time. You guys have heard my efforts. The bill also said that if the universities would lose any money by taking in more in-state students, then they would make that money up by charging additional tuition to out-of-state students. This is an interesting bill, I think, and the thing I think is intriguing to me, and let's pair it with the other bill that we also have up today, Mr. Chairman, is the bill saying, over the years, the colleges and universities have said, well, we need all these out-of-state students because indeed we have to have additional money. And that's a legitimate argument. What you found out, though, but when we started going through the Chev reports, is they're providing $60 million in tuition assistance to kids from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, all these out-of-state students, all these out-of-state kids. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't say we need all these in-state students, but then be shoveling money out the back door in New Jersey. Now, we have kids, we had a press conference, Mr. Chairman, and we had members of the Appropriations Committee there. We had House leadership there. We had Senate. We had the Black Caucus. We had the Southwest delegation. This is not just a Northern Virginia issue, but it's an issue that's important because we have kids time after time after time. They're getting 4 3s, 4 4s, great SATs, and they can't make it in. They're being kicked across the border to other schools. I think this is the right thing to do. I think we had our esteemed staff make a presentation at the House Senate Finance Appropriation Caucus where he talked about Club Ed and talked about why some of the costs are out of control. But if you don't send a message with this bill, we are going to have fewer and fewer kids having the ability to go there. And this is not about Fairfax, it's not about Prince William, this is not about Northern Virginia. When you had the whole Southwest delegation at the press conference, I think it's something you should think about. We all should think about. So I appreciate all the work y'all have done on this. But I think if we don't look at this and don't realize the costs continue to escalate. One of the things, Mr. Chairman, and I asked everybody here, 2 years ago, we passed legislation, working with all of y'all, that just said that on their webpage, look at it, they'll print the costs, they'll print the graduation rates, they'll print all this pertinent information, but they'll also print the historical tuition of these colleges. Take a look at it. It's run amok. And I believe some of the university presidents will say, we want these out-of-state students, we think it's prestige. Well, I had a member of this committee on a phone call tell the president or the rector of one of the universities, Mr. President or Mr. Rector, you say you want your university to be #1 in the country, that is great. But in fact, we'd be happy to be 2 or 3 if you keep the tuition a little lower and let in a few more kids from Virginia. I truly think this is the time to take note of kids from Virginia. And we got into a running debate with a friend of mine online the other day, and he wrote, but Tim, we've talked to all the donors to the university. They don't want this. Well, you're right. The donors, some of the donors may not want it. But I ask you to think about all the families, about all the kids that sit over 4.2 and outstanding SATs, and sitting there going to soon have a rejection letter in their lap from UVA and William & Mary and Tech and JMU. Now, JMU, let me say, is the white knight in this. They are pushing right at 75%, and I appreciate all their efforts. So that's a college that proves it can be done. They have said, well, we're gonna get to 75%. It's a little hard, but we can do it. Tech was close, and they've gone back. They've backslided a little bit. William & Mary and UVA, William & Mary, my alma mater. South, we say bless their heart. But I just think it's something we've got to take credit.
You can wrap up a little bit. You got a lot.
Mr. Chairman, that's wrapped up, and if we can justify, I'll do both bills. If we can justify sending $60 million of appropriated money to out-of-state students to subsidize their tuition, while we're raising tuition here, while we're raising costs, while we're not providing, we're having a hard time providing pay raises to state police and others, then I think we have a real misallocation of resources. And that's my statement for both bills. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, you're very gracious.
Questions for Delegate Higo? One? Anyone here speak for the bill? Anyone here speak against the bill? State your name and who you are.
My name is Justin Mirage. Actually, I'm originally second. I'm from New Jersey. I'm very lucky to be in your great Commonwealth, and I don't know much for particulars of this bill, but I want to say that keeping a vast knowledge in this state would be a mistake. I'm very lucky to be here today because of Virginia Tech offering opportunities that it does to me and other students like myself.
Anyone else here? Thank you, sir. Anyone else here to speak against the bill? All right. I see we have a lot of discussion. All right. Chair will entertain a motion on the bill now. Since no one's saying anything. What we got? Dr. Rush?
Yes, sir. We taking both bills up this time?
No, we're going to do one at a time. The first bill up was the one on the agenda, which I said, HB 1886, and I think that's the one that has his ratio, if I'm not mistaken, 75-25.
I commend Delegate Hugo for his work and bringing together folks. I think we're going to do something, we're going to work on another bill that deals with this problem, so I would move to gently lay it on the table.
Okay, motion's laid on the table. Is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and a second laid on the table. That's a non-debatable motion. All those in favor of that motion, signal by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that bill is laid on the table. The second bill Delegate Hugo has is HB 1887. Delegate Hugo, do you want to say anything else more about that one? You sort of covered.
Mr. Chairman, the other bill you're talking about, I haven't seen it. Nobody showed it to me, but my understanding is it doesn't address the $60 million going to out-of-state students.
Delegate Hugo, it's your bill.
I'm talking about the other bill that Delegate Rush was talking
Yeah,
about.
well, I'm on your bill.
I understand.
HB 18, would you like to say anything else about that?
Delegate Rush just said that these issues would be taken care of in the other bill.
Mr. Chairman,
But
I didn't say they'd be taken care of, I said they'd be addressed. And there's three bills on this topic, and one is coming after you.
no, I appreciate that.
Thank you,
I'm just
Mr.
not sure.
Okay.
I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. Thank
Okay,
you. Very gracious.
1887. Any further discussion on that? Anybody here to speak for that bill? Anyone here to speak against that bill? Chair will entertain a motion on that bill. Okay, motion is to table the bill. Is there a second? I'll second it. Okay, that's a
Thank you, Mr.
non-debatable motion.
Appreciate your time.
We haven't voted yet. Okay, all those in favor of the tabling of the bill, signify by saying aye. 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 All those opposed? Bill's tabled. Thank you, Dr. Hugo. Delegate Alba. HB 1410. Welcome, Delegate Alba.
Well, I wanted many, multiple people up there who texted me telling me my bill was coming up. I was in court.
Yeah, we do that. So.
Okay, so, first of all, I would like to adopt everything that Delegate Hugo said, because I agree with him 110%. He's the guy who started this whole thing, and I'm on the Hugo team. Where Tim and I differ is I agree that the only way you get a bill passed around here is to compromise. And I'd like to see if we can keep something in play. So some of the ideas in the substitute that we have were brought to me by some of you guys, and let me just tell you what three things in my bill tries to accomplish.
Somebody like it. Thank you, Barry. Delegate Knight moves to substitute the response. We have a second. Okay. All those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. So substitute some funds.
Okay, so here's the issues that they try to accomplish, and then here is what the bill does. Issue number one is I'm of the opinion that a lot of the boards of visitors are really not thinking about the people of Virginia when they're operating the school. When we have the boards of visitors, they're running the school on behalf of the people. So the bill has a minor little change. Originally I said change the name Board of Visitors to Board of Trustees, but what I really wanted was to make sure that the members of the boards of visitors understand that they are representative of the people of Virginia. And that is included in the bill. It's a little small line that says when they have training, the board's members' duty is to the Commonwealth and its citizens.
So that's line 101 and 102.
Yeah, and then also on 114. Okay, that's the simple thing. I don't think anybody ever disagree with that. The next issue deals with tuition transfer. When I found out that some schools, namely UVA to the 30 million and William and Mary, I don't know what the figure was, were taking some of the out-of-state money, out-of-state tuition money that they said they needed to run the school, and giving it to other out-of-state students to buy down their tuition, I went ballistic. Because they've been telling me for years they can't create new in-state slots because they need the out-of-state money. That's issue number one I had. Issue number two I had an absolute conniption with. When I found out that the schools are using in-state tuition money and giving it to other students for financial aid. And I understand why they do it, because we underfund financial aid, okay? But here's why it drives me ape. I mean, I worked hard as I possibly could to save $40,000 for my kids' education. And now I find out that I didn't save $40,000 for my kids' education. I saved most of it for mine, and they took some of my money and they gave it to another kid. And when I tell my constituents that, they go crazy. So during the last couple of weeks, I've had a lot of schools come to me, and they had some good points. Their points were, number one, the state authorized us to do this years ago, so we're not doing anything that we weren't authorized to do. Number two, the state underfunds our financial aid, and if we don't have a transfer, a lot of people won't be able to go to school. And number three, we've already made plans for the future. And if your bill came into effect, you would just like blow a big giant hole in the budget because we haven't made these plans. So instead of doing the draconian thing, which I said you couldn't do it, on this bill you'll see an enactment language on page 6, line 148, that basically says the Joint Subcommittee, the Future of Competitiveness in Virginia Higher Education, is going to look at this, and they're going to come up with a plan to see what other schools do throughout the country, and see if they can come up with a plan to wean them off this, what I consider to be a philosophically horrible policy. Okay, so to me that doesn't seem like too controversial, because I think we can all agree that there's something wrong with taking one student's money who's working through college and giving his money to somebody who's not working. But I understand that it's much, much more complicated than just having a bill saying don't do that anymore. So that's what that does. Okay, now, Delegate Hugo's and my thing about 75-25. I've been doing this long enough to know that I can't get everything 100% my way. I mean, it took me 12 years to get my transportation idea through. I'm willing, if that's what it takes, is to go 70-30. So number one, the bill says 70-30, 30% in-state, only 30% out-of-state max. Now, the bill does something else. Instead of setting a hard number, what it does is it creates an incentive program so that the schools will end up going that way. And what it says is that any school that hires an out-of-state student above the 30% mark, all the money that is in excess of that kid's education will go to reduce tuition to Virginia students. Okay, so I'm going to make up numbers, but just for the ability to kind of explain it. Let's just say it costs $10,000 to educate a student, and the out-of-state rate is $25,000. What this will say is that if that student puts the school over the 30% mark, then they take the 15% delta and they send that to reduce tuition for Virginia kids. That does two things. Number one, it stops the incentive of the schools to start bringing in out-of-state students for the purposes of getting more money, and in my opinion, excluding in-state students. And number two, it makes them live up to what they've been telling me, which is they need the out-of-state money to run the school. And it says that the delta, the money that you make profit, so to speak, on the out-of-state student will go to reduce Virginia State tuition. Okay? So, I don't like the bill. I like the way mine was before, but I like this version because I think that you guys will vote for it. I think it'll pass and it'll move the ball forward. So
Delegate Alba, if I could point out, just for clarification, on line 93, you exempt the VMI, Norfolk State, and Virginia State.
that's correct, and my bill always exempted them. Those schools are kind of different types of schools, and that VMI, I mean, I don't know where you're gonna find crazy enough people who wanna go do that kind of hard work for 4 years. And historically, black colleges, they have to recruit from outside Virginia. And so I can't include them in here because they're kind of a different animal, so to speak.
Great. Any questions for Delegate Alba? All right. Anyone here to speak for the bill?
Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, my name is Peter Blake. I'm going to surprise Delegate Albo. I support part of it, okay? I support the part where he is asking that the joint subcommittee take a look at this issue of the tuition arrangement whereby some students are putting into the tuition pool and other students are getting financial aid. So I support that and I appreciate that. I agree with Delegate Albo's father, who said that financial aid actually should be a concern of the entire Commonwealth, not necessarily solely of an individual institution. And that's where the Commonwealth has not been able to keep up with the financial need during the Great Recession and beyond. And that's why we're in a situation where you authorized colleges and universities in 2007 to begin doing this tuition swap thing. So I'm glad that he's willing to look at this over a period of time. This has been in the works for 9 years. To unwind it in a year or 2 years or 3 years would pull up to $86 million in financial aid away from Virginia students. So I speak in favor of that part. I might be back.
Delegate Sickles.
Chairman, I'd like to ask Mr. Blake a question. If the justification for giving out-of-state students financial assistance is that it comes from their tuition, it comes from the out-of-state tuition, and I guess I want to know the degree to which that happens, because Delegate Alba says rightfully that we're told that supports in-state students, but what is the appropriate percentage of out-of-state money, out-of-state tuition that you think should be used to support other out-of-state students?
Chairman, Delegate Sickles, I don't know that I know the answer to that, and I think it would depend a lot on the mission of the institution, its ability and capacity to raise tuition, what its philosophy is about offering need-blind admissions to out-of-state students, and what kind of flexibility you think would be reasonable.
Just one follow-up. So how much is it now? I mean, if UVA is helping to finance out-of-state tuition to out-of-state students using their money, what percentage of that, of the money do they use now of their delta over and above what it costs to educate?
And it varies by institution, and I don't have the specific institutions and materials in front of me. Ms. Maggio can probably help me. I think it's around 9%.
Yeah, I think we're going Ashton.
I think it's around 9% system-wide of their out-of-state tuition is used for out-of-state financial aid.
9%?
About 9%.
That's across the system, it'll vary by institution. UVA's is probably somewhere in the teens.
15% for out-of-state
and
students.
some might be 1% across, so just, it is gonna vary.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Blake, thank you. Anyone else here to speak for the substitute or the bill?
Mr. Chairman, Jared Calfield, Virginia 21. We have a number of students here today, so I apologize for overcrowding your committee room. We were opposed to the original financial aid portion of the bill, and I just want to thank Delegate Albo for his willingness to study that, and we would like to be part of that conversation moving forward.
Anyone else here to speak in support of the bill? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill? All right, any other, no, I'm sorry, Laura?
I just would, kind of, digesting all this for the first time and want to thank Delegate Albo for his efforts to, I think, listen to a lot of the concerns that have been raised to him and present a thoughtful approach, especially as it would relate to tuition for financial aid. Obviously, still trying to understand the formula of 70-30 and what that means, but did want to thank him for his efforts to take the issues into consideration that we've been sharing with him.
Okay, any other discussion on the bill? Delegate Knight?
Can I make a comment?
Sure can, Delegate.
Delegate Albo, you're exactly right with your approach on this, the way I see it. You know, you can ask what we think we need, sometimes you can't sell it. I think we can sell this is a great approach, and I was, anyways, I've been in this dialogue, not as long as you, but I've been in this dialogue also, and I appreciate your approach. I think it's exactly the right approach. Mr. Chairman, with that, I'd like to make a motion to support the substitute.
Thank you for those comments, Delegate Knight, and thank you for that motion. So we have a motion to move forward. We have a second. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? It's unanimous. Delegate Albo, thank you. I think that's all we've got, right? Great, thank you for good work in the subcommittee. We stand